Mangwanani malelepo vukenjani kekwas wanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. Today is Monday, the 18th of October, and we are excited to start the week with you. My name is Ashwin Betty, and as usual, here is Aina Raiza Kweyo.
Today is also Global Dignity Day. This is an initiative to educate and inspire young people as well as help them understand their self-worth and goals. It was established in 2008 and continues to grow in popularity. On Global Dignity Day, speakers go into schools and tell learners about their own lives and experiences, which also entails self-respect, ambition, hard work, and a feeling of accomplishment. And here is more on Global Dignity Day. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. In our top stories, Western Sahara, Polisario Front leader vows attack on Morocco will continue. The leader of the Western Sahara Polisario Front, Brahim Ghali, says the independence-seeking Sawahari army will continue attacking Moroccan position in disputed northwestern African territory unless a United Nations appointed envoy is given a clear mandate to deliver on self-determination vote. Speaking to reporters, Ghali urged UN Security Council member to establish a clear mandate for decolonization of Western Sahara and the organization of a referendum on self-determination at the Council scheduled meeting on the 28th of October. The United Nations consider Western Sahara as Africa's last territory to be decolonized, but its envoys have failed to set the stage for referendum on its future since a ceasefire was signed 30 years ago between Morocco, which has annexed it in 1975, and the independence-seeking Polisario Front.
In our second story, hundreds of Sudanese protest in Khartoum calling for the fall of transition government. Hundreds of Sudanese called Saturday in Khartoum for the fall of the government that is supposed to lead the country to its first elections after 30 years of dictatorship, accusing it of having failed to get them out of the political and economic stagnation. On Friday evening, nearly a month after a failed coup, Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok denounced deep divisions between civilians and military, but also within these two blocs. He also declared that the transition was going through its most dangerous crisis, saying that the path to democracy was threatened. For their opponents, Saturday's demonstrators are supporters of the former deposed regime. Supporters of a complete transfer of power to civilians have already called for a demonstration of 1 million people on Thursday. The new authorities, made up of military and civilians, are supposed to lead the country towards elections, but they keep pushing back the deadline, currently to 2023.
In our next story, Cameroon authorities urge calm after police kill a girl who is 5-year-old in Biou. Authorities in English-speaking Western Cameroon have appealed for calm after the killing of a 5-year-old girl by a policeman in the troubled region of his subsequent lynching by an angry crowd. The incident took place on Thursday in Biou, the capital of the southwest region, where Anglophone separatists and government forces in French-speaking majority nation have been locked into a bitter 4-year-old conflict. We urge the public to be calm. This is a sad and unfortunate incident, Governor Bernard Bilai told the state television channel CRTV. Rest assured that those who did it will pay. It is an atrocity, he said. Blaise Chamango, head of a local campaign group called Human is Right, said a woman driving children to school was ordered by the police to stop at a checkpoint. The driver didn't obey. The guardsman opened fire and the schoolgirl was fatally wounded, she said. People responded by lynching the guardsman. More than 500 people came out and marched with the body of the girl to the governor's office.
In our next story, tuberculosis deaths rise for the first time in more than a decade due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has reversed years of global progress in tackling tuberculosis, and for the first time ever in over a decade, TB deaths have increased, according to the World Health Organization's 2021 Global TB Report. In 2020, more people died from TB, with far fewer people being diagnosed and treated or provided with TB preventive treatment compared with 2019, and overall spending on essential TB services falling. The first challenge is disruption in access to TB services and a reduction in resources. In many countries, human, financial, and other resources have been reallocated from tackling TB to the COVID-19 response, limiting the availability of essential services. Challenges with providing and accessing essential TB services have meant that many people with TB were not diagnosed in 2020. The number of people newly diagnosed with TB and those reported to national governments fell from 7.1 million in 2019 to 5.8 million in 2020. WHO estimates that some 4.1 million people currently suffer from TB but have not been diagnosed with the disease or have not officially reported to national authorities. This figure is up from 2.9 million in 2019.
UN chief urges life-saving transformation of food system. The World Food Day is not only a reminder of importance of what we eat to everyone on the planet, but also a call to action to achieve food security around the world, the UN chief said in his message marking the day on Friday. Commemorated annually on the 16th of October, Secretary Antonio Guterres pointed out that currently, almost 40% of humanity, some 3 billion people, can't afford to eat healthily. At the same time, the way to produce, consume, and waste food is taking a heavy toll on our planet. Reference this year's theme that the power to change is in our hands, he spelled out that our actions are our future. We can all change how we consume food and make healthier choices for ourselves and our planet, said the Secretary General. In our food system, there is hope. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, that's something we play a part in every time we eat. The food we choose and the way we produce, prepare, cook, and store it makes it an integral and active part of the way in which an agri-food system works.
In our next story, serial killer killed by mob after escaping cells in Kenya. Police in Kenya said a man who had confessed to killing a dozen children and escaped from detention this week has been killed by a mob. Area Assistant County Commissioner Cornelius Nyariba said the death took place near his home in Bungoma County, a day after he had escaped from police cells in Nairobi. They asked us whether he was hiding here and we became worried. When my mother and I checked the old house, he was squatting in the bathroom. Immediately, my mother recognized him. She started screaming while running out, with Maston following her. The neighbors also started screaming, and that was when people came in large numbers to get him. Authorities have said Wanjala had confessed to killing 12 children in Nairobi, Machakos, and Bungoma counties when he was arrested in July. He reportedly posed as a football coach to lure victims. So far, 5 bodies have been recovered.
Ugandan troops feted with medals for contribution to peace and stability in Somalia. The African Union mission in Somalia has awarded medals and certificates to Ugandan soldiers for their contribution to the ongoing peace and stability effort in Somalia. The soldiers battled Group 30 were awarded medals at a ceremony in Mogadishu, Somalia, presided over by the AMISOM Force Commander Lieutenant General Diamonde Dagea and attended by senior AMISOM military officer and the commander of Ugandan troops in Somalia, Brigadier General Don. Lieutenant General Dagea applauded the soldiers who were tasked with securing a Lower Shabelle and Bandia region for their courage and steadfastness in the implementation of the mission's mandate amidst difficult conditions. Only a small section of soldiers rotating out of the mission attended the symbolic event as part of the COVID-19 prevention measures.
Now in South Africa, ministers freed in military veterans hostage drama. Minister of Defense and Military Veterans Thandi Modise, Minister in the Presidency Mondli Gungubele, and Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans Thabang Makwetla were held hostage by disgruntled military veterans who said the government failed to address their demands. The ministers were attending a meeting to discuss the plight of the former soldiers of the African National Congress's military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe. The war veterans had refused to release the officials until their demands that included a meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa were met. However, the police arrested 56 members of the Liberation Struggle war veterans, charging them with 3 counts of kidnapping. Meanwhile, former ANC member Carl Niehaus has called on the government to release the 56 military veterans. Military veterans have been treated poorly for many years, and the legitimate demand in terms of the need for them to be employed, housing, medical care, especially in the manner in which they are treated in the integration to the South African National Defence Force and the South African Police Service, is unacceptable, said Niehaus.
Kenyan police arrest husband for slaying runner Agnes Tirop. Police in Kenya have arrested the husband of record-breaking runner Agnes Tirop after she was stabbed to death in a case that has shocked the country and the world of athletics. The 25-year-old two-time world champion bronze medalist was found on Wednesday morning lying on a bed at home in the town of Iten with stabs wound in the neck and abdomen, local media reported. The National Police Service said on Thursday that her husband Ibrahim Rotich was arrested in the coastal city of Mombasa. The police had been hunting for Rotich since Wednesday after his family reported that he had called in crying and asking for God's forgiveness for something that he had done. The Associated Press, a news agency, quoted Tom Makori as saying, "The suspect is currently being grilled by detectives at the Changamwe police station for more details into the murder before being arraigned to answer to murder charges," he said.
Now in Tanzania, EU stresses youth role in fighting climate change. The head of the delegation of the European Union to Tanzania and the East African Community, Mr. Manfredo Fanti, said that youth in Tanzania have a unique role in fighting climate change and promoting green cities, and thus they must be given priority in such efforts. The envoy made the remarks in Dar es Salaam yesterday, where he and other EU ambassadors presented awards to pupils from 5 schools for their outstanding efforts of designing green cities for their future. The competition for designing the imaginary smart cities was dubbed Resilience. For her part, the executive director of the Forum CC, a non-governmental organization addressing climate change, Ms. Sarah Ngoy, said that the campaign would go hand in hand with planting 3,000 trees for shades and environment conservation measures. Pupils will also be involved in a campaign of planting nearly 3,000 trees at hospitals, health centers, schools, and public offices in Dar es Salaam region, she added.
In our next story, the right to a clean and healthy environment. For the first time ever, the United Nations body, whose mission is to promote and protect human rights around the world, passed a resolution recognizing access to a healthy and sustainable environment as a universal right. The text also calls on countries to work together and with other partners to implement this breakthrough. Professionally, that was probably the most thrilling experience that I have ever had or that I will ever have. It was a massive team victory. It took literally millions of people and years of work to achieve this resolution, said David Boyd, UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Environment, who was also in the room when President Nazad Shahim from Fiji brought down the gavel announcing the voting results. 43 votes in favor and 4 abstentions counted as the anonymous victory to pass this text that cites the efforts of at least 1,100 civil society, child, youth, and indigenous people organizations who have been campaigning for global recognition, implementation, and protection of the human rights to a safe, clean, and healthy, sustainable environment.
Now, in Namibia, 102 water points supply 6 villages in Epembe. Namibia's Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Carl Schlattwein, is inaugurating 102 water points in the Epembe constituency or Hangwena region of Namibia. The new facilities are equipped with prepaid meters. This is one of the benefits of the Namibia Water Sector Support Program. The minister explains that of the 102 water points, 95 are supplied through pipelines and the remaining 7 directly from boreholes. The Namibian government has entrusted the management of the new facilities to the Water Point Committee. The regions of Kavango East, Oshikoto, Zambezi, Khomas, Oshana, and Omusati also benefit from the NWSSP program. Eventually, the program will reach 1 million people directly, 250,000 people indirectly. The objective is to ensure sustainable production and transfer of water resources to improve access, quality, and safety of drinking water, and to industry in urban and rural centers in the central, north central, and eastern regions of Namibia facing drought, says the African Development Bank, which is co-financing the NWSSP. Now, the Credit and Start für Wiederaufbau, the German development agency, is also supporting the Namibian government with the program. The NWSSP will run until December 2025 at a cost of 222.6 million US dollars. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. We're going to be talking more about the environment. This time we'll be joined by an expert in Germany. Stick around. This is still Africa. Good morning.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neo Paints, a coat of excellence.
Now, Andy Georgiou is a campaigner and consultant for climate and environmental protection, energy policies, and further development of democratic processes. We are talking to him live in Germany. Welcome to Africa. Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm fine.
All right. Now, your first question is going to be quite brief. In just a few seconds, tell us exactly who you are and what you do.
Well, as you've already outlined, I'm a freelance climate and environmental campaigner. I'm based in Germany, but I work internationally, and main focus is on fracking and anything related to fossil gas infrastructure.
All right, now, Andy, in Namibia, we find that all media reports that are critical of the gas and oil exploration in the Kavango area of Namibia and the Kavango River Delta in Botswana are being condemned as media, allowing international lobbyists to abuse the media outlets and promote these lobbyist aversion to fossil fuel mining. Would you agree that international lobby groups can and would do that, or is it a simple case of international activists that support local environmentalists and activists?
From a pure personal point of view, I can only say that I was invited or asked to support local and national opposition. And this is true for many people that work at the international level on this issue. A petition was handed over to Parliament a few months ago, signed by over 40 civil society groups in Namibia. I personally work very closely with local and national groups. So yes, there is an international dimension, but it's rather a supporting one than an interfering one. One last point about that, we shouldn't forget that international bodies such as the UNESCO and IUCN have also expressed deep concerns about the oil and gas development plans of Recon Africa in the region.
All right, now the government and Recon Africa refuse to talk about fracking as they maintain that that was never discussed. Yet geologists say that the only manner in which you can extract any oil would be through fracking. Now tell us a little more about fracking and why Europe and the Americas have turned their backs on this process that seems to promise easy access to oil at some stage.
If you want to know anything about fracking and the impacts of fracking over a decade roughly now, you should look at what's going on in North America, in particular the United States and Canada. And the reason why many countries in Europe have refused to move forward with fracking, actually banned fracking, has to do with several impacts of the industry as such. So it starts with the bit-by-bit industrialization of mostly former rural areas. Then it goes on with vast amount of freshwater usage. We talk about, on average, 19 billion liters of fresh water per well. And this can go up to billions of liters of fresh water in the development field. There's a risk of water contamination. There's a risk of contamination for fertile lands. There's public health impacts, in particular for children and women living nearby fracking industry. And then lastly, this industry has a vast and significant impact on the increasing global warming. So there are several reasons why, if you can prevent it, and if you can prevent the first steps, you shouldn't allow the fracking industry to evolve and develop in your country.
All right. If you had a chance to speak to the Namibian government, what advice would you give them?
Well, I mean, just look at what's going on in the world with regard to the global warming crisis. And the oil and gas development plans of Recon Africa, they belong to the past. And in actual fact, they will lock Namibia into a development that is completely past-orientated and that is basically responsible for the global warming crisis that we're in. And at the same time, Namibia has vast potential for renewable energy and could become a huge and major green hydrogen producer for the future. And I think that any official in Namibia should think twice if they should embark on a mission that is past-orientated, or rather look towards the future, which is renewable energy, green hydrogen, and this will definitely provide an economic boost and development for Namibia.
All right, now in one of the local newspapers on the headlines today, right on the face, they're talking about Prince Harry supporting, the stopping of Recon Africa's work. Now, when such huge names or brands align themselves with the cause, does it amplify the cause in a sustainable way, or is it just a PR stunt that, lasts for about a week or two?
Well, I don't think it's a PR stunt. And in actual fact, what's really striking is if you speak with people about it, no matter to which part of society they belong, they are shocked to hear about the plans of REC in Africa. It's simply a no-go zone where they're operating. So no, it's not a PR stunt. I do think it amplifies the already expressed concerns by experts and international bodies, as I've already highlighted. And I hope that more voices will pop up and speak up. But at the same time, I also hope that investors of renewable energy companies will see the vast resources in Namibia and will start invest in Namibia, because it's easy to oppose something, but it's also very important to provide some kind of economic perspective for locals and the country as such.
All right. Thank you very much, Andy, for disseminating that important information on Africa. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're just talking to Andy Georgiou, a campaigner and consultant for climate and environmental protection, energy policies, and further development of democratic processes. We're focusing on the oil drilling that's happening in the Kavango region. This is still Africa Good Morning, bringing you the news as it is. See you after the break.
Today is the National Day of Prayer and Fasting, a public holiday declared to reaffirm a country as a Christian nation. However, some political parties have declined to participate in the prayers. Good morning, Master Sichula. Please tell us more on this story and what type of fasting will you be doing? Is it a Daniel fast, a dry fast? Take it away.
Africa, good morning. Wow, this day was declared a public holiday by President Edgar Lungu in 2015. The sole purpose of it being declared a public holiday was to pray for the nation to commit the nation to God, so that the nation becomes to have unity. Because when he declared this day as a public holiday, it was after the highly contested presidential by-elections, and there was division in the country. That is the decision why President Edgar Lungu then declared it as a National Day of Prayer. It also culminated into the creation of a ministry for national guidance and religious affairs, which has since been abolished by the new administration. So part of the president, actually now the former president, Mr. Edgar Lungu, is not observing this day, is not officially going to be present during the National Day of Prayers that will be held in Lusaka at the showgrounds. Equally, President Hakainde Hichilema is not going to be the main speaker or the main guest because he's traveling out to Wapura province for a 3-day working visit. Probably maybe he's going to have observe this day while it's there in that region of the country. So this is the state of affairs. A number of political parties are not participating, citing different reasons. These are the political parties that were participating when the PF was in power. But now that the PF is not in power, they are also going to shine this day. Then the political parties that were not observing this day when they were in opposition are going to be observing this day since they are now in government under the UPND alliance.
Interesting how the coin flips. I understand you have a video for us, Mike.
Yes. Actually, the video is talking about President Hichilema not moving to State House almost 2 months after he won the presidential elections. During one of these, as he was going for work, he stopped over to greet his supporters. We can have the video now.
So in relation to that video, Mike, it's been almost 2 months after President Hakainde Hichilema has not moved into State House. Sorry, after he became president, he hasn't moved into State House, opting to remain in his new Kasama residence dubbed the Community House. Please do expand on that. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yes, you know, usually when the president wins the elections, he's supposed to move into State House. But in the past elections and with the past presidents, they have been reluctant to move into State House. So, like for President Hakainde Hichilema, it's almost 2 months now that he took over the instruments of power, but he has not moved in officially into State House. What he does now is that he just goes to State House for work purposes. If there are foreign dignitaries that are supposed to meet him, and he's also going to hold the media briefing and the like. He's just going purely using the State House for work purposes. But he goes back to his Kasama house, that the Community House, after work. So it's one of those incidences that you have seen in the video. He stopped over to greet people who wanted to have a word with him. He was coming from home, going to State House. Quite an interesting style of leadership there.
All right. In your next story, Mike, Patson Daka has scored against Manchester United. Please tell us more.
Yeah, this is over the weekend when Leicester City hosted Manchester United. The game ended 4-2 in favor of Leicester City. And Patson Daka, he came on he came on from the bench. And he had a huge influence. He made 2 assists. Then he scored the 4th goal, which was coming from a corner. And there he's celebrating. Then he also spoke to Leicester City media in the following video that we're about to play. So we can play the video for our fans.
This victory, we have to focus on the next game.
It was a game you watched the majority from the bench. What was your view on it, and could you wait to get into the action?
Sorry?
It was a game you watched mainly from the bench. What was your view on it as it was playing out in front of you?
Well, watching it from the bench, it really looked like it was very difficult. And so when I was about to go in, I made sure that I was fully focused, I was prepared enough, and it showed when I went in. I was really determined to at least help a team in any way that I can.
As you say, a busy week ahead, a trip to Russia. Always helps when you're doing that amount of travelling that you go into that with a win, confidence building and everyone gelling together.
Yeah, this victory is giving us an extra boost. We have had a few tough weeks, and so I believe this is a great stepping stone for us going forward.
So
super
there you go,
sub.
there are parts of that, yeah.
Yes. All right, Mike, we're going to touch on your last story briefly. In continental football, Zambia's representatives in CAF football ended in victory for Red Arrows Football Club while Zanaco lost away in Egypt. As brief as possible, please.
Zanaco Football Club is representing Zambia in the CAF Champions League. They lost to El Marik of Sudan. The match was played in Egypt. Then Red Arrows is representing the country in the CAF Confederation Cup. They beat Augusto of Angola 1-0 in Lusaka at National Heroes Stadium. So now they are going into the second legs to see who qualifies into the Champions League and the Confederation Football. These are the only two teams that are representing Zambia in continental football.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news from Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning.
You know, Aina, I love that Patson Daka is playing well right now because I can start saying my prayers years before they ever face Zimbabwe. All right, this is Africa. Good morning. The thing you do have to face today is the weather, but you don't get to do it alone. You have a forecast up next. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to dive straight into your economic news stories for the day. In the first story, food heroes, Ethiopian avocado farmers' transformational crop. An Ethiopian farmer has been talking about how avocados have transformed the lives of not just his family, but also of people living in his community. Bogale Borena set up an avocado nursery in Yergalem in the south of Ethiopia and has been so successful with the venture that he was named as one of 17 food heroes by the UN's Food and Agriculture Agency. The Food and Agriculture Agency provided technical assistance with the support of the Ministry of Agriculture with the aim of developing a value chain scheme which includes improving productivity and the quality of commercial avocado varieties. It takes less than a year to grow and sell seedlings and around 3 to 4 years for the plants to yield fruits. So the payoff for me has been immediate, he said. By growing grafted avocado seedlings, I have boosted my income and transformed my family's life. As a result, I can plan to improve my house, buy a truck to transport fruits and other agricultural items, and establish a flour mill in my village. This will serve the local community and create employment opportunities for the local youth, he said.
More than 9,400 young Ugandans to access global markets through PSFU and AgriCycle Global Partnership. More than 9,400 women and men are set to benefit from a new partnership between a private sector foundation Uganda and the country's apex body of private sector, the AgriCycle Global, a social enterprise. The partnership is in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation as part of its Young Africa work enhancing lead firm structure for youth employment in Uganda initiative. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations estimate that food losses in sub-Saharan Africa amount to 4 billion annually. The majority of food loss happens between harvest and the point of sale, with less waste by consumers after purchase.
IEA warns that world isn't investing enough for future energy needs. The world is failing to invest in energy on the scale needed to escape catastrophic climate change and avoid sharp increases in fossil fuel prices, the International Energy Agency warned. In a report just weeks before a key climate change summit known as COP26, the agency said that investment in green energy like solar and wind is falling short of what's needed to keep the planet from warming up significantly. Whatever path the world follows, the IEA is worried that governments aren't fulfilling their pledges to build back greener after the pandemic. Oil, gas, and coal demand is rising strongly in 2021, and China has hinted at a shift in its energy and climate policy, with an emphasis on avoiding the shortages that currently are crippling its economy.
Those have been our economic news. Coming up next is economic indicators.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Now, if you're perceptive enough, you can tell this is not Aina. This is Ari Howard, who is live in studio to bring us today's sports updates. Ari, we start off with cricket.
Yes, it's a big day. It's the World Cup that started. It's the T20 World Cup that started, and a big day for Namibia. There was already 2 games yesterday, and we can start with some of the results there. A great win for Oman. It was played in Muscat in Oman. Oman beat Papua New Guinea by 10 wickets. So it's a very impressive win for them in the first game. And then Scotland, they beat Bangladesh. That was a bit of a surprise. Beat them by 6 runs. So today it is in Abu Dhabi. Excuse me. It is Namibia that plays Sri Lanka, and Ireland that play against the Netherlands. So those are 2 big games. The If you want to set the clock, Namibia play against Sri Lanka at 4 p.m.
All right.
That is Southern African time, and so you can leave work a little bit earlier today
Yes.
to catch that game. And earlier game today is Ireland that will play against the Netherlands, and that game starts at 12.
All right. Now, as an Arsenal supporter, it's seldom that Manchester United brings me joy and peace in the morning. But this last weekend, they seem to have done the job.
Yes, and that's a that's a away loss for them against Leicester City. They're more competitive than that often. Or mostly, but it's also a 4-2 loss for them. It's not a good result for them. They lose a bit of touch on the leaders at the moment. It's still Chelsea and Liverpool that show the way. It is Chelsea that stayed on the winning ways by beating Brentford. That was an away win, impressive away win, by 1-0. And then Liverpool also away win against Watford by impressive margin, 5-0. And then Man City, the defending champions, they stay in touch. They had at home a win against Burnley, 2-0. And then also today it will continue. It is maybe more of a pressure situation for you than Ashwin, because tonight Arsenal play
Yes.
Crystal Palace.
Yes.
So that is some of the football happening. But at the moment, after 8 games, it is Chelsea leading by 19 points, Liverpool on 18.
All right. Now, as much as I might be stressed today, I am feeling good. I've been a Stormers supporter pretty much since Brayton Paulson. I'm not sure when you started, which might have been earlier than that. But we had good results in rugby this weekend.
Yes, Brayton Paulson was a good era, not playing anymore, but he was one of the stalwarts for the Stormers. The Stormers battled in the beginning of the tournament, but they got their first win of the tournament. They beat the Dragons by 24 points to 10. But not good results for the other Southern African teams. Unfortunately, the Lions lost to Ulster by 26 points to 10. The Bulls, they lost to Edinburgh by 17 points to 10. And then the Sharks also had a tough game against Cardiff, 23-17. The result there. But we've had indifferent results from the Southern African teams. Also, a factor is that all of the South African teams are battling with referee interpretations. I don't want to pull the referee into it, but it's a definite challenge for the South African teams, but they need to adjust. So that is what they need to do.
All right, so we're going to close off with 2 solo sports where you can't really blame a team member. Tell us what's happening in tennis and golf.
Yes, Indian Welsh. It is Indian Welsh is called the 5th major for the tennis in the tennis circuit, and it is Britain's Cameron Norrie that won. It was a bit of a surprise. He's the 26-year-old beat Nicolas Bashishvili in the final, and that was in 3 sets. But Britain's Cameron Norrie, interesting, he was born in Johannesburg, so South African born, and then that is Cameron Norrie there in action. He was born in South Africa, in Johannesburg, grew up in New Zealand, and now playing under the British flag.
Interesting.
So he will move up to 16th in the world. Great result for him. On the women's side, it was Paula Badosa of Spain. She's 27th in the world, and she played Victoria Azarenka. That would have been more of a favorite in this game. Azarenka has won a few majors, 2 Australian Opens. She's won the Indian Welsh twice as well. But it was Paula Badosa of Spain that's in action as well there. She beat Victoria Azarenka by 7-6, 2-6, and then a tiebreak again 7-6 in the 3rd set. So a good result for Paula Badosa of Spain.
All right, and in golf.
Yes, golf news real quick. It was firstly a South African Sean Norris that won the Japan Open, a great performance by him. On the European PGA Tour, or the European Tour, it is Matthew Fitzpatrick that won the Andalusia Masters with 6 under par. George Coetzee of Southern African interest was tied for the 6 on +3. And then on the US PGA Tour, that was in Nevada, lower scores there. It was Rory McIlroy that he bounced back from the disappointment of the Ryder Cup, and he won the CJ Cup on the PGA Tour with a total of -25. Colin Morikawa second, -24, and Eric van Rooyen, South African, tied 25th on 17 under par.
All right.
Ricky Fowler there on screen, he fell back a little bit, -22. He ended up 3rd. So that's the sports news. And maybe for the cycling fans, the Cape Epic starts also today. The prologue was yesterday. So for the cycling fans that's close by in Cape Town, go and have a look.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes, you know, I feel sorry for South Africans whenever you have to say born in South Africa but now playing there. And then as I'm feeling sorry for you guys, two words come to mind. Tendai Mtawarira. And after that, I feel better. Thank you, Ari, for bringing us the sports news in studio.
It's a big pleasure.
All
See you
right.
again on Friday. Bye.
Hey, see you on Friday. This is Africa Good Morning. After the break, your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs happening in the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, or if you need a recap, worry not. Here are the headlines. Western Sahara Polisario Front leader vows attacks on Morocco will continue. Hundreds of Sudanese protest in Khartoum call for the fall of transition government. Cameroon authorities urge calm after police kill girl 5 in Buea. Tuberculosis deaths rise for the first time in more than a decade due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Food heroes, Ethiopian avocado farmers' transformational crop. In cricket, the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup started on Sunday, with Oman making a strong start to the tournament, and the Chennai Super Kings won the Indian Premier League. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we have a website. It's called the One Up 2. Also, do note that this particular edition, the Monday edition of Africa Good Morning, will repeat on One Up 2 at exactly 8:30 to 9:30. We also have Facebook and Twitter pages. That's at Africa Good Morning. Please do not forget to play your part. We are still in the middle of the pandemic. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light.
Until tomorrow, Swera Jaganaka.